I have two questions here. The first one says, does the Bible support the Catholic practice of a marriage annulment? And the second question is, what is the difference between annulment and divorce? It's a bit technical question, and perhaps, our university professors perhaps could give not only 1 hour, but hours and hours speak about these topics. Let me start with the first question. First of all, does Bible support the Catholic practice of marriage annulment? I will tell you what is annulment afterwards, but does Bible support, let us say, divorce, the families breaking off, etc.? No. The Bible always speaks for togetherness, unity, family. You see the Holy Family itself. The biggest example for us of family life, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, and all three of them being together, whether it is in crisis, running to Egypt, coming back, the sword of Herod hanging over them, Mother Mary and Joseph taking Jesus to the temple, and these are beautiful scenes of the family. So Bible in itself directly does not encourage breaking up of families. There are certain quotations, certain references in the Bible for what we call separation of the couples for certain times, for certain reasons, and always in order to heal them separately, in order to bring them together. Sometimes it may happen because of certain instances or certain happenings in the family. Both husband and wife have become bitter, and perhaps we can see that they are separated for some time so they can come together. There are one or two sayings here and there which I interpret in different ways for the sake of this reason or for the sake of that reason, can perhaps what we call in a civil way the divorce or permanent separation can be given. There are different interpretations, and the canonists would say many things about these. Now let me go to the second question, annulment and divorce. Annulment and divorce, what's the difference? And perhaps what is the church bothered about? Or rather the church concerned about? First of all, annulment means, nullity we call it. Annulment means there is no marriage at all. And divorce means there is a marriage and you break them off. You break them off. The church doesn't break them off just like that. There's no divorce in the church. The church keeps up that dictum of Jesus, Mark chapter 10, verse 9, which says, "What God has joined together, let no man put asunder." And therefore, a marriage which is validly celebrated, a marriage which is done according to the Christian form, a marriage which has full consent and no other impediments that block it, is a marriage, is a real marriage, is a marriage that is celebrated in heaven, as it were. We have that beautiful saying, marriages are celebrated in heaven, which means God makes the marriage. God binds the couples together. And when God binds them together, it's like we say, we priests make an expression to tell the people that it takes 3 people to make a marriage. The husband, the wife, and God in the center. With the blessing of the cross, the wedding is celebrated. So therefore, the church doesn't have what's called divorce as such. But the church declares nullity or annuls the marriage. What's the meaning of annulment? As I said, annulment means showing minutely, or perhaps in the way that perhaps you can argue about and say that there is no marriage taken place here. And therefore, we say that there is no marriage at all. And so in order to say that there is no marriage at all, there are 3 things that make marriage. Number 1 is consent. When there is full consent between the 2 partners. The second is there is no impediment. What is an impediment? Impediment is a block, perhaps a big block that comes in the way. There are many impediments. For example, impediment of age. The children cannot get married. The church follows the state law, 18 for the girl, 21 for the boy. But the church also, there are what we call the consanguinity, impediment of consanguinity. A brother and sister, though they are male and female, cannot get married. So therefore, there are some restrictions among the closest relatives. Then also there is impediment of, let us say, of one who is ordained a priest or perhaps one professed nun. And so there are many impediments of this sort. If there is an impediment, it is shown to us there is an impediment, and therefore the marriage could not have taken place. And that's what we have to prove. There are 7 or 8 impediments which can be annulled, for which the marriage can be declared null and void. And the third, as I said, the first is the consent, second is lack of impediments, and the third one is lack of form, we call it. The marriage is to be celebrated according to a certain form. The Catholic marriage, as you know, is celebrated in the church with certain persons who are there, the husband and wife, and 2 witnesses. And they have to make a promise, and there is a symbol that is exchanged between them, the symbol of the ring, the symbol of the tali, which makes, and the presence of the minister makes it solemn, makes it official, and that is the form that is called. So therefore, if there is a couple who has got full consent, no impediments, but let us live together, we have almost husband and wife, no, something is missing. Perhaps there is a couple that have come together, they look very beautiful, the photographs show us they are very happy, but interiorly, perhaps one of the parties says, I was forced to marriage, which means there is no consent, we can annul that marriage. Or thirdly, as I said, the impediments that are there, the impediment of age, impediment of perhaps the consanguinity, the impediment of marriage, the impediment of so many other impediments that we have, perhaps if we show it. If I can give a small example, I'm building a house, I'm putting a lights in this house, and you see there's a beautiful bulb there, there's a tube light there, there is a fan there, everything is there. And on the day of the inauguration, I come and say that I put on the switches, everything is there. If I put on the switches, nothing comes, no lights come, no fans are working. Then someone tells me, unfortunately, the lineman didn't connect the wire to the pole there, the electrical pole that is on the roadside. The wire has not come from there. And therefore, even if you have the whole house ready, even if you have all the beautiful lights and lamps, but if there is no current, the marriage, or rather the house has no lights. So also the physical things or perhaps the outside things alone not matter. As I said, the consent is important, the impediments that are not there is important, and also the form is important. If these 3 things are not there, the marriage can be annulled. And that's the work of the tribunal, marriage tribunal, to prove. The parties are called, the witnesses are called, and the parties try to prove that one of these 3 things is missing. That's why the marriage can be annulled. To say that from the beginning there has been no marriage at all. They have not been tied together at all. And therefore, if they are tied together, it's a valid marriage which has got everything, all the 3 elements, I would say no one can break it. What God has joined, no man can put asunder. We are nobody to put asunder. Only death can separate them. Death can put them asunder. So my dear friends, I leave you at this. I wish you a very holy Sunday and a week ahead. A week that may be full of joys and sorrows perhaps, but let us accept them in the name of the Lord as God accepts us. As I said in the beautiful parable of the rich man and the poor man, Lazarus, that God doesn't see our exterior, God sees our heart, God sees our openness, God sees our generosity. God bless you.